story, the clash of kings. The wind on the Mammoth steppe did not just blow, it bit. It was a physical presence, a ceaseless, freezing gale that scoured the treeless plains of the Pleistocene. Here, the grass grew tall and broad, stretching endlessly toward a horizon dominated by towering glaciers. The silence was immense, broken only by the groaning of shifting ice and the deep, rhythmic thrum of the earth shaking. This was the rhythm of the Titan. He was a bull, woolly mammoth, a creature so massive that he seemed less like an animal and more like a moving mountain. Standing 11 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing over 6 tons, he was the undisputed lord of this frozen world. His coat was a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, a thick, shaggy outer layer of guard hairs, some nearly 3 feet long, cascaded down his flank with dark brown fur. Beneath that, was a dense undercoat of fine wool that trapped air and heat against his skin. And beneath that, a 4-inch layer of blubber insulated his massive internal organs from the biting cold. He was a fortress of flesh and bone. He moved with a slow, forward pace. His trunk, a muscular wonder of dexterity, sweeping back and forth across the snow-dusted ground. He was searching for the sweet grasses buried beneath the frost. Occasionally, he would stop, using his immense curved tusks to sweep away the snow. These tusks were his crown, his sword. Spiraling out from his jaw, they curved inward, creating a formidable barrier between him and the world. They were stained with the mud and peat of the tundra, battle-worn from clashes with rival males. But today, the wind carried a scent that made the great bull pause. It was a smell of musk, of urine, and of old blood. It was the scent of a predator, miles away, hidden in the tall, dry grass of a ravine. A pair of eyes watched him. They were golden, unblinking, and cold. These were not the eyes of a modern African lion. These belonged to Panthera leospelea, the Eurasian cave lion. This beast was a monster in its own right. He stood nearly 4 feet at the shoulder and weighed over 700 pounds. He was a creature of muscle and sinew, lacking the heavy mane of his southern cousins, which allowed him to move silently through the brush without getting stabbed. His coat was thick and pale, blending perfectly with dried grass and dirty snow.
Tactical analysis update.
Behind him,
Flanking
3
formation
lionesses
nearing
crouched
completion.
low,
Target
their bellies
remains
pressed
unaware.
against the frozen earth. This was a coalition, a hunting party driven by a hunger that gnawed at their ribs. They had not eaten in days. The reindeer herds had moved north, and the bison were scarce. The mammoth was a desperate target, a gamble that could end in a feast or a death. The male lion, the leader of this pride, signaled with a flick of his ear. The hunt was on. They moved with the silence of ghosts. Despite their size, they made no sound. Their paws, broad and padded to walk on snow, absorbed the crunch of the ice. They fanned out, flanking the great bull. They knew better than to attack head-on. A frontal assault on a mammoth was suicide. Those tusks could toss a lion 30 feet into the air, shattering ribs and spines like dry twigs. No, the strategy was attrition. They had to be quick. They had to be synchronized, and they had to be ruthless. The mammoth sensed them before he saw them. His poor eyesight was compensated by a keen sense of smell and hearing. He stopped chewing. His ears, small and furry to prevent frostbite, twitched. He let out a low rumble, a sound so deep it was felt in the chest rather than heard. It was a warning. Suddenly, the grass to his left exploded. A lioness launched herself at his flank. She was a blur of tawny fur and bared teeth. She hit the mammoth with the force of a battering ram, her claws sharp as razors, seeking purchase in his thick hide. But the mammoth's skin was an inch thick, tough as tire rubber, and covered in that impenetrable mat of hair. She struggled to find a grip, her claws tearing at the bone, but failing to reach the flesh. The bull reacted instantly. He pivoted with surprising speed for an animal of his bulk. He swung his head, the massive tusk sweeping through the air like a scythe. The lioness dropped just in time, rolling away as the ivory blade whooshed over her head. But the distraction had worked. From the right, the male lion attacked. He was heavier, stronger. He leaped, aiming for the mammoth's hindquarters. fingers. He sank his teeth into the thick muscle of the leg, his jaws clamping down with a force of 1,000 pounds per square inch. This time, there was blood. The lion found a spot where the hair was thinner, and his canines punctured the skin. The mammoth roared, a trumpeting blast that echoed across the steppe. It was a sound of rage, not fear. He kicked out with a hind leg, a limb as thick as a tree trunk. The impact grazed the male lion, sending him skidding across the snow. The lion recovered instantly, his golden eyes burning with adrenaline. Now the other two lionesses joined the fray. They were swarming him, nipping at his heels, trying to hamstring him. They knew that if they could damage the tendons in his legs, the mountain would fall. And once he was down, it would be over. The mammoth was surrounded. He turned in a tight circle, his trunk tucked safely under his tusks to protect him. He was fighting a war on four fronts. He lunged at a lioness, driving her back. He swung his tusks at the man, forcing him to retreat. But they kept coming back, relentless, like a pack of wolves. The sheer physics of the encounter were staggering. The mammoth weighed 12 times as much as the lions combined. He was a biological tank, but the lions were the ultimate guerrilla warriors. They were faster, more agile, and armed with weapons designed to slice and tear. The battle raged for 20 minutes. The snow around them was trampled into a muddy slush, stained with crimson droplets. The mammoth was breathing heavily, his breath booming in the frigid air like steam from a locomotive. He was bleeding from several wounds on his legs and flanks, but they were superficial. The lions had failed to deliver a crippling blow, and the lions were tiring. The energy cost of attacking such a massive beast was immense. The male lion was panting, his sides heaving. He had taken a glancing blow from the mammoth's foot, and he was favoring his left shoulder. He looked at the bull, measuring the odds. The prey was strong, too strong. The mammoth sensed the shift in momentum. He stopped spinning and faced the male lion directly. He lowered his head, presenting the full, terrifying span of his tusks. He took a step forward, a stomp that shook the ground. It was a challenge. "Come and die," the gesture said. The lion snarled, a low, guttural sound, but he backed away. The risk was no longer worth the reward. In the wild, an injury was a death sentence. To continue the fight was to invite a broken bone or a punctured lung. One by one, the lionesses slunk away, fading back into the tall grass. They would look for a bison, or perhaps a sick horse. This mountain was not to be conquered today. The mammoth watched them go. He did not pursue. He was built for endurance, not speed. He stood his ground, a lonely sentinel on the plains, until the scent of the predators had vanished completely on the wind. Only then did he relax. He reached his trunk down, grabbed a clump of snow, and dusted it over his wounds. The cold would staunch the bleeding. The thick layer of fat would prevent infection. He would carry the scars, just as he carried the scars of winters past. They were medals of survival. He turned back to the wind, his trunk seeking the scent of fresh grass. The adrenaline faded, replaced by the eternal, driving need for calories. He was the woolly mammoth, the king of the north, and today, the king still reigned. But let us pause and look deeper. What we just witnessed was not merely a fight. It was a collision of biology and
Look at the
physics.
detail on this one.
To understand why the mammoth survived, we must look at the
We need to
science of
measure the
beasts.
depth immediately.
Consider the lion. The cave lion was an apex predator, larger than any cat alive today. Its skeletal structure suggests it was built for power and running, possibly more so than modern lions. Its bite force was crushing, designed to suffocate prey by clamping onto the throat or muzzle. But against a mammoth, this primary weapon is neutralized. The mammoth's neck is too thick, protected by layers of fat and muscle that a lion's jaws cannot encompass. The muzzle is dangerous. The trunk is a weapon itself. Then consider the mammoth. His defense is not just his size, it is his geometry. His center of gravity is low. To knock him over, the lions would need to generate a force that they simply cannot produce. His skin is a shield. Modern elephant skin is up to an inch thick in places, and the mammoth's was likely thicker to retain heat, reinforced by the dense fur. A lion's claws, while 3 inches long and razor sharp, would struggle to penetrate deep enough to cause vital organ damage. They can scratch, they can tear, but they cannot eviscerate easily. Furthermore, the mammoth has the advantage of reach. His tusks gave him a kill zone of several meters around his head. Any predator entering that zone risked instant death from a blunt force trauma impact that could rival being hit by a wrecking ball. However, the fossil record tells us that lions did eat mammoths. How? The answer lies in the weak, the young, the old, the sick, and the stuck. A calf separated from its mother was easy prey. A mammoth trapped in a mud pit or a ravine was a buffet. The Yucca mammoth, a famous frozen specimen, shows scars of a lion attack that she survived, and later, wounds that may have contributed to her death. This proves that lions hunted them, but also that mammoths fought back and often won. The battle we imagine today was a clash of prime adults. In that scenario, the physics favor the tank. The energy expenditure required for a lion pride to bring down a healthy bull is astronomical, and the risk of injury is 100%. Nature is a calculator. Predators do not fight fair fights. They look for the unfair advantage.